Since Lethal Company exploded onto the indie game scene in 2023, we've seen the birth of a brand new genre, lovingly adorned as, quote, friendslop. Friendslop games can be pretty much summed up as this: roguelite about collecting items and facing scary monsters, which can be played alone, but becomes substantially better with the addition of friends and proximity chat. While friendslop is a diminishing term, I utilize it lovingly because, well, I am a sucker for these games. But a better term would be lethal-like. I've tried my hand at games like Phasmophobia, Content Warning, and Kletka, but none of them quite hit the same as Lethal Company did. I mean, that game took over my evenings for the better part of half a year. Can any other game hit quite the same? Well, this one can. R.E.P.O is a game about collecting scrap items across different levels. You and your friends play as the Semibots, a group of very silly looking robots that make very funny faces and can work together to lift and extract items. Each scrap item you come across will have a different value. You want to put these items into your minecart and bring them back to an extraction point so that you can get paid and get out. What makes R.E.P.O different is that every item also has a weight. The more valuable that an item is, the heavier it will be. You see, this game makes heavy use of ragdoll physics. You have to actually lift up and carry the items until you can safely put them down. And you gotta be careful, because if you smack an item into a wall, it'll lose some of its value or even be outright destroyed.
Don't break it!
This adds a whole layer of genuine strategy. You gotta work together to carefully carry heavy objects, rotate it to fit around doorways and corners, and make sure it doesn't get dropped or otherwise destroyed. Oh, and the bots also have physics too. If you press Q on your keyboard, you can crouch down into this tiny little form that other players can pick up, carry, or throw around. This also happens when you get knocked over by something, so yeah, the trolling potential is pretty massive here. You can type in text chat too, and the Semibot will read it in a TTS voice. As of about a month after launch, there are 4 maps, with more on the way: the Mansion, the Museum, Hogwarts, and Lonely Labs. Each map has a variety of completely unique scrap items that you can interact with in different ways. There are love potions that make you say kind things about your friends, hourglasses that slow down time, clown dolls that explode, books that attack you, haunted dolls, epic rave boomboxes. The list goes on. Unlike Lethal, there is no exterior map to explore, so the variety added to each interior map type is very much appreciated. The game progresses in a roguelike format. You complete the extraction points to complete a level, then head to an item shop for a variety of player upgrades, weapons, and miscellaneous items, and then progress onto a harder level. R.E.P.O was released in February 2025 by the Swedish studio Semiwork. It came across my friend's radar just a few days after launch, and drawn in by the unique approach to the gameplay Lethal made so popular, we decided to give it a try. Obviously, we got hooked.
This is the shop. This is where we buy item shops.
Shut up!
Mima coming through. What? Mima, no!
Bye.
This wouldn't be a Lethal-like without some spooky, scary monsters to freak you out and produce funny moment compilations, so let's take a look at those. Starting with the first I ever encountered. The headman is sort of the poster enemy of the game. It's a giant, disembodied head that floats around and will chase you and chomp you down if it sees you. Just stay out of its line of sight and you'll be fine. The clown is, well, a clown. If he sees you, quickly duck or else you'll be absolutely blasted by his nose laser. He's pretty destructive, but if you can stay hidden for long enough for him to go away, you'll probably be alright. The robe is completely silent, so quite often you won't even know it's right behind you until it screams and consumes your soul. It's pretty avoidable. Unless you make direct eye contact, it actually chases you very, very slowly, and you can easily outpace it even at a walk. And you can hide from it. Something that you are probably picking up on is that the strategy for dealing with a lot of these enemies is just but hiding. In fact, a lot of time in R.E.P.O is spent in tiny form, sneaking around and hiding under beds, in cupboards, even in the toilet. However, a lot of enemies can actually crouch down and attack you if they see you hide, so it's wise to break the line of sight before hiding somewhere, unless it's something like a bed where you can move further backward to stay out of the attack range. The apex predator appears as a cute little ducky, and look at him, he's so fluffy and cute and adorable, and oh look at that, I can pet him, oh god! Yeah, the apex predator will chase you down and try to chomp you to death if you try to pick it up or damage it. It moves fast and deals damage fast, so unless you got full health and stamina or some speed upgrades, you should probably avoid petting it. However, there is a solution. See, in the item shop, you can head up through this broken ceiling tile into a secret second shop. It is here that you may find the duck bucket. Now, when a little ducky comes along, just plop the bucket over it with care and you're good to go. The Shadow Child is basically Slenderman. He appears out of thin air, and if you look for too long, he'll yoink some of your health. How rude. Gnomes are pesky little buggers that spawn in small groups and harass you, using their tiny little pickaxes to wear down the value of your collected scrap. But the fun part is that they're incredibly easy to counter. Just pick them up and chuck them into a wall or something and they'll shatter. It's just that easy. Gnomes are at their worst when you have to leave the minecart unprotected to hide from some more dangerous monster, so they're free to take swings at the value of your loot. It's the worst. The hidden is, well, completely hidden. There's straight up not a visual design for this guy. He's just a puff of black smoke that will pick you up and straight up steal you, carrying you all the way to the other side of the map. This guy is bloody annoying. Oftentimes he'll be picked up and carried away multiple times during a small time period.
Is that the fucking Shadow Man? Oh, pizza! I got fucking stolen. I got fucking stolen.
The Trudge is very dangerous when you first encounter him. If you get too close, you can be dragged in and maced with an instant death. But if you keep your distance, he's really just a minor inconvenience. He's very slow and loud and bright. There's really no missing him. This guy is meant to be one of the hardest enemies, and he takes up one of their slots, so honestly, I'm usually glad to see him in my level. The Huntsman is a blind man with a shotgun as a cane. Health and safety concerns aside, he basically works like the eyeless dog from Lethal Company, in that he can't see you, but if you make even a peep of noise, this will happen. This is one of the only enemies in the game that is explicitly audio sensitive, but most of them can become curious and start making their way over to you if you make too much noise. Also, he falls down the stairs, which is really funny. The Peeper is a big old eyeball in the ceiling that forces eye contact, and like the introvert that you are, this somehow drains your life force. The Peeper can give you a real jump scare when you first walk into a room and it's active, but it's not really a major threat. Bangers are like bob-ons. These little skulls will charge at you in groups and explode. That's really about all that they do. The explosions don't even deal a whole lot of damage, and these guys aren't super common. Kinda just a mild annoyance, maybe a surprise sometimes. That's really it. Spewers mainly projectile vomit all over the place, but they can also latch onto your face and make you into a public nuisance, throwing up all over your friends and de-pitching your voice. Again, not usually a problem, but I had one game where a spewer kindly decided to throw up all over the minecart and devalue it massively, causing us to fail the final quota and lose the run. That wasn't fun. Animals may remind lethal players of the Thumper, but trust me, unlike the Thumper, it's more scared of you than you are of it. The animal does next to no damage to players, but it can stomp all over valuable scrap and devalue it very, very quickly, making it an extreme annoyance. The best thing to do when you see an animal is hop up onto a table where it can't see you, move the minecart out of the way, and wait for it to leave. The R.E.P.O will go absolutely ballistic if she sees you, dealing a lot of damage to players and scrap with her flailing arms. But if you break line of sight, she will forget about you and go on about her day very quickly. Like a lot of other monsters, just stay out of the way and you're probably going to be okay. The Mentalist is an alien that floats around, lifting up any players and scrap items that get too close, before slamming them down to deal tremendous damage. This guy is very quiet, so you might not hear him coming, but if you get caught, a friend can pull you out of his range. Also, according to the unofficial wiki, the Mentalist is a racist? Okay. The Chef is a pretty rare find, but he's definitely dangerous. This frog will lunge at you with his big cutters, dealing pretty hefty damage if you don't get out of the way, but you can just sidestep him and run away. The Upscream, oh man, I hate the Upscream. Okay, this knobbly little bonehead will harass you and jump scare you and throw you around, and it is so annoying. I got triple tapped by this guy on one of my first ever runs, and I have had an absolute hatred ever since. although they're not actually that common. In fact, in my 30 plus hours of playtime so far, I can only think of about 3 instances in which I've actually seen any. The bow tie is, I'm not actually sure. A snowman? An ice cream? The Michelin Man? Anyway, his deal is that he stomps around and fans you away, forcing ragdoll mode. You can deal with him pretty quickly if you use one player as bait for him to fan away, and then get another player to attack him from behind. But if that's not possible or you're on your own, I wouldn't worry about him. The Rugrat is a baby. He throws things at you. That's the entire bit. Funnily enough, the Rugrat is perhaps the enemy I've encountered the least, and the fact that most of the time he really isn't that much of a threat means that it's more of a novelty encounter than anything else. So that's all of the enemies as of the game's launch. Unlike Lethal Company, where enemy spawning is defined by the selected moon and RNG, R.E.P.O adopts a much more roguelike style difficulty scaling. Each monster is assigned a level from 1 to 3. For example, the gnome is level 1, the animal is level 2, and the headman is level 3. In the first 2 stages, there will be 1 level 1 spawn and 1 level 3 spawn. From the 3rd stage onwards, the number of spawns will gradually rise with each couple of stages, maxing out at 2 level 1 spawns, 3 level 2 spawns, and 3 level 3 spawns from stage 11 onwards. There's also a small chance that any level 3 spawn can be replaced by a larger number of a lower level spawn. This can just mean a lot of gnomes, but can also mean the absolute nightmare that is 4 mentalists in 1 level. Yikes. So yeah, that's what you gotta deal with. On the very first level, you only have to complete 1 extraction point, worth no more than about $10,000 total. But very quickly, in maybe an hour of playtime of a strong run, you'll find yourself in levels with 3 or even 4 extraction points, each worth some $30,000. R.E.P.O has an incredibly sudden difficulty curve. If your squad isn't certified locked in, things are gonna get real tricky real fast. The good news is that if somebody dies, you can just grab their head and pop it into the extraction point to revive them after the next extraction. But obviously, if everybody else dies and you're left alone to carry some pretty heavy items all the way to the extraction while dealing with all the monsters spawning all the time, you can get some pretty lengthy time periods on your own, which can make one go a little cuckoo crazy. If there's one major criticism I have for the game, it would definitely be that when you die early on and have to wait some 5, 10, even 20 minutes before being revived, it can be really boring. This is an issue Lethal Company did not face because every day is on a strict time limit, lasting only around 10 minutes at the longest. But in R.E.P.O, there's really no time limit for a level. You just gotta wait for your surviving friends to lock in or die a horrible demise. And even if they do lock in, a level can still last well over an hour. But once the final extraction is done, you're free to start making your way back to the truck to leave. This is when the game is often at its scariest. Everything goes dark, every monster respawns and path finds towards you, and in the later game, the level design becomes a lot more difficult with tight platforms and huge bottomless pits that I don't know how they got the planning permission to build. This can honestly be the most thrilling part of the game because even though you're technically done, somebody needs to actually make it back to the truck in order to progress. But it's all worth it to see that glorious item shop with plenty of money to spend. I think the introduction of upgrades is one of the greatest things R.E.P.O brings to the lethal-like genre. I'm a speed maxer myself, opting to collect a speed and stamina upgrade after every level until I'm racing around. But there are also strength, health and range upgrades, and even a double jump unlock. I think one great improvement would be the addition of random upgrades scattered throughout the actual levels to find. We played with one mod that actually added this, and it was super satisfying and fun to find and use an upgrade I was hoping for. But I don't mind the vanilla implementation either. Something a lot of players haven't actually tapped into is the drones, which connect either to the player or to a scrap item to give it a unique effect, such as making an item indestructible or a zero gravity effect for the player. The item shop also features a variety of weapons, like this inflatable hammer I used to beat the shit out of an animal for about 20 minutes straight, but also baseball bats, frying pans, and a gun. Straight up, just a gun. So yeah, if you're coordinated, it is indeed possible to team up on enemies and go the genocidal route, which we did in one session, using a crossbow to stun enemies and then basically just whacking the heck out of them until they died. Enemies that you do kill pop into a fragile orb, which is very valuable and also not very heavy. Killing enemies can be a genuine strat to get good money, but don't forget that they respawn after a little while, so, you know, don't think you're safe forever. As is the nature of a lethal-like, there really is no ending to R.E.P.O. You just keep going until you can't anymore. And when you do inevitably fail, you're all dropped into the disposal arena, a micro battle royale where the last bot standing lives. This bit is honestly where some of the most unexpectedly funny moments happen, and honestly, it really undercuts the depression of losing. The ragdoll physics can really shine here.
Please, what are you doing to me?
No!
And yeah, that's the retrieve, extract, and profit operation. We also tried out a few mods. Even in the game's infancy, the modding scene is bubbling with unique ideas and twists, including custom maps, custom enemies, all sorts of goofy cosmetics, and Lethal Company scrap. Now there's a crossover. So why are we all doing this? What's the lore of R.E.P.O? We don't actually know, really. The devs have stated that they aim to tell the story of the game primarily through details you can spot across the game's maps, and there's definitely some interesting stuff. Skeletons in the item shop, a murder mystery at Swiftbroom Academy, and which country's flag is this in the Arctic base? Oh, and just who exactly is the tax man? There's a lot to be uncovered. Even Lethal Company had written logs that explained the origins of a lot of monsters and the moons themselves, but R.E.P.O is, as of right now, completely unexplained, and I love it. R.E.P.O is definitely better with friends. It's the perfect mix of scary and funny that Lethal previously perfected. It's like throwing back a few beers and watching a horror movie with your pals, just good, silly, slightly terrifying fun. But you can play solo too, and it's here that the game transforms into a significantly more challenging, honestly, terrifying experience, where one slip-up can cost you an hour of progress. It's definitely a much more punishing way to play, and it won't appeal to everyone, but I enjoy the single-player experience in its own way. R.E.P.O is a brilliantly innovative take on the lethal-like genre that I have had an absolute blast playing with my friends. A lot of developers have tried and failed to create something that feels like a truly fresh spin on Lethal Company, but R.E.P.O has excelled in creating a completely brand new experience. The success of R.E.P.O is absolutely deserved, and it is not at all diminishable. In fact, the very peak player count of people playing at the same time on Steam has actually surpassed that of Lethal Company, and the little semi-bots have spawned a variety of memes, such as I love.
But again and again, I love, I love, I love, I love, I love.
The devs at Semiwork have been committed to being openly transparent and providing really solid content updates to the player base, so I'm really looking forward to seeing where R.E.P.O goes. And Lethal Company isn't going anywhere. That game is just as fun as ever and is still receiving updates every so often, but I think that R.E.P.O is a worthy successor. Okay, yes, friendslop was intended to be a diminishing term from a disgruntled tweeter with no friends, but friendslop games have become some of my absolute favorites, thanks to very talented indie devs like Jakus and Semiwork. And that's why R.E.P.O is my friendslop of the year 2025.
He's in his so fucking Mario Kart. Just fucking Mario Kart.
You take that.
No!